We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We usually just wait a few seconds for everyone to join the live webinar. So just tell us where you're tuning in from today, and we can start a little bit of chat while we wait for everyone to join us. Oh, I can see Nicole from France joining us. Excuse me, looking from side to side. I have two screens. I know, it's really great. We have Anton from Kiev. Hi, Anton. Where's everybody else? We've got one from Hans in Mongolia. Wow, really impressive. Wow. Okay, that's really cool. Anyone else? Oh, New York, Melissa. Really nice. Fantastic. Keep it coming. Tell us where you're from. Another USA. Brilliant. Okay, so we're almost at the minute. So I'm going to jump straight in. So I'm Paige. I'm Paige Hobart. I'm the SEO team director at an agency called Roast. And today we are doing the SEO Toolbox 3.2. Now, I'm not sure how many 3 points we're going to end up doing because these are quite popular. So we might end up doing 3 points, God knows what. But we're going to do another trio of live site audits today. So there was a bit of a competition. So we'll let you know which ones we're going to do. But I just want to let you all know, if you've not joined us before, it's a slightly different format. So we don't wait till the end to do Q&A. Just drop your questions into whatever you're on. Drop your questions in. I'll feed them into the guests that we have today. And we'll kind of do it as we're going so that it's all topical and all at the same time. So, yes, we had a competition. Tristam will go through the 3 winning sites because those are the ones we're going to audit with you today. But there are 3 lucky runners up as well, and they're going to get 3 months access to Semrush Guru. But I'm not going to tell you who they are until the end, just so that you have to wait to know if you're a runner-up, because I'm really cruel like that. But I will let you guys introduce yourself. Wes, if you go first, and then Tristam can introduce himself, and we can crack on.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Wes Flippo. I'm the Vice President of SEO at Inceive Interactive. Inceive is a performance digital agency. We focus in SEO. I personally have been in SEO for about 7 years. We're located in San Diego, which is where I am currently. So I'll hand it over to Tristam.
So I am Tristam Jarman. Hopefully you've joined one of these webinars before, so you have seen me previously. But for anyone who doesn't know me, I am a co-founder of Purple Smudge digital marketing agency down here in Brighton in the UK, and we primarily focus on search engine optimization and pay-per-click and sort of everything that weaves itself together in that with analytics, etc. So yes, thank you for everyone joining today. It's going to be exciting.
Fantastic. Now, Tristam, do you want to announce the 3 winners altogether, or should we ease in? Do you want to just go first one, second one, third one as we go through?
No, I'll jump in. I'll let everyone know what 3 sites we're looking at. But for the 3 runners up, as Paige says, you're going to have to wait to the end to see whether you were lucky enough to be a runner up to get a 3-month subscription to the Guru account. So if we're all happy to go, I will share my screen.
Always the first hurdle of any webinar, a share screen.
See if this goes wrong. I've had some great internet issues today, but they seem to have ironed themselves out. So let's hope that's not going to happen. So we've got 3 sites today. The first one we'll be looking at will be this lovely site here, Villa Jamaica. It's Jamaica Ocean View Villa. And the second site we'll be looking at is showcasetruckaccessories.com. And the third site we'll be looking at is woodlandtrust.org.uk. And so we wanted to ideally kind of pick a few sites that weren't necessarily on the same vein. You know, obviously they're all websites, they're all companies, but this one we're looking at the moment is for a villa in Jamaica. This one is a company selling truck accessories, and then there's a shop as well, which is quite interesting. And then this is a UK-based Woodland Trust. Why has my brain gone blank? It's a Woodland Trust. What?
They're like a charity, aren't they? The Woodland.
That's it, conservation charity. is what my brain was thinking. I can tell it's late in the day and late in the week because my brain is not firing on all cylinders. But let's jump in. So I had a look at this site, and from the top down, I ran a site audit. I had a look in Google search, and we also had a look at just some of the things that, like, really observations of the website, look, feel, and how your site's functioning, what you're trying to do, and what we feel if you're sort of really hitting the mark with getting the information and content out there. And so let me just jump in. Let me open up another Semrush. Let's spell it.
And all three of those website owners have now got 6 months access to Semrush Guru, don't they? Because they won.
They do. So congratulations, guys.
Congrats.
Really, my computer works a little bit faster than this. And so I ran a site audit, and as you can see, it was ran on just under 500 pages, and there's a number of errors and issues. And one of the top issues I found was on, where was it? On the blog booking page. So let's just, actually, this would be a better way to find it. And so, is that a crawl? I'm going to run it and find this issue here. So so a lot of people should have or should be in the process of making their website secure. So as you can see in my navigation bar, can't make that larger, you've got the HTTPS, which means that your site is secure with an SSL certificate of some sort. When you move from HTTP, your non-secure website, to HTTPS, you want to ensure that you have migrated this across correctly. Not only migrated one URL to another URL to ensure that the HTTP redirects the HTTPS correctly, but ensuring that links on your page are not HTTP linking to HTTPS or HTTPS linking to HTTP, because then we start to get mixed content issues and causes a few issues. So let me just find where this link is.
And we had oh, sorry, Wes, you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing that's important to note here about linking to HTTP resources on HTTPS pages is that the new version of Chrome is actually going to block those resources. So that's being rolled out coming up very shortly. So if you have an image that's an HTTP image, that image will not load in Chrome moving forward. So keep that in mind. It's even more important than ever now that Google's pushing these types of updates. So
definitely. And so something as simple as this page, you wouldn't necessarily know unless you kind of interrogated your website quite a lot or ran a site audit, which is key. And so this link here, world-class retreat away from the home. Let's click that. And what you didn't see with your eyes is there was a redirect put in place. So it went from here, you can see it went from the HTTP version to the HTTPS. Now, what we'd ideally want to do is just go to this link and change it to the HTTPS version. So then we've got none of these redirects or HTTP links still there. A lot of sites, this is quite nice. There's only 2 links that really need to be updated. Links are to the home page, as you can see here. And so you just need to go back into that link and just add in the S in this little section here. And this error and warning won't come up. Now, as I say, this is quite a small issue here. A lot of sites who don't plan their migrations correctly can find that it's a far bigger issue. And there's some other HTTPS points that we'll crack on with throughout this presentation or throughout this session. Something else which is quite interesting, which if you've been part of one of these before, you will see, we'll take that. Been smacking my internet too much.
They're blocking you.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, somewhat interestingly, there was a bank in the UK did a huge campaign around making sure you see that padlock. So with a just Chrome's going to hate you, but also users should be avoiding your websites now as well if they don't see that padlock on their website.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And then just so I've shown this in previous webinars, this is a search operator that can be used in search engines. So all I've asked here is by using site : and then the domain, I've asked Google to kind of bring me back everything under Jamaica Ocean View Villa.com. Why I do this is it throws up some issues that you might not have seen or knew exist. Through my history of doing these webinars and doing site audits, you start to see commonalities and pick up on issues. And so to me, I had a look at this issue, this URL here, seemed odd, click through when it loads. There's an image on what's seemingly a page that doesn't have any content. I went through and then research this further, and it looks like what you've got is an image attachment issue because you're using the WordPress CMS. So whenever you upload an image to WordPress, it effectively creates a whole page for this image, as well as where the image. So this is the image itself with the image URL, but it's living on this page. And from, as I say, from doing further research, I was having a look at the sitemaps, and there's 3 attachment sitemaps with around 2,600 images. Now, it doesn't look like they're all being indexed, but a huge amount of these image attachments are being indexed, and it's a huge issue for a number of WordPress sites. When I've stopped sharing my screen, in a while, I'll throw in a couple of links to reference links for the audience to Yoast, and there's another one as well where they talk about how to rectify this issue. So if you use Yoast or All One SEO, I think it is, there's a process of stopping images from being indexed as an image attachment, because as you can imagine, this page here that's been indexed and we can click through to has little to no SEO value. It's using up crawl budget. I wasn't able to get a hard number of how many images there were indexing in this manner, but as I say, there's 2,600 in the attachment sitemaps. So there could well be, you know, hundreds, if not 1,000 of these images ruining your crawl budget. As you can see, just another one here, because this looks, you can see here, this looks a bit funny. And then this one here with image 5, and then this one here.
Tristam, we've just got a question from Julia Cotton about using those site operators. She says, in the site audit, we get errors on duplicate content, which will show up when you do these site operators. Get duplicate content because the website responds to both lowercase and mixed case URLs, but there's only one page. Why is that a problem?
Hang on, let me stop sharing my screen just for 2 secs and come back to you. Could you say that again? So, got questions.
So when you do the site operators, you'll see all versions of that of your website. Here we go, round the bottom. There we go. It's talking about mixed case URLs. Why uppercase and lowercase are different web pages.
Oh right. So do you want to go on, Wes, if you wanted to?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the reason that's probably happening is because Google respects URLs that have different lowercase and mixed case URLs. So it actually is treating that as 2 separate URLs, and the correct way that you have to handle it is through canonicalization. So you might be linking to those pages and you might not even know it, somewhere on your blog, somewhere else in the architecture of your site, right? And what the crawler is actually doing in that site audit, because it's just really just crawling through your site, is finding those URLs that have those lowercase or mixed case URLs that are different than the ones that you want to be the primary version. And you need to handle that through canonicalization. If you're not familiar with canonicalization, there's a lot of really good resources. I'm sure we can drop one into the chat as well. And of course, the other way that you can fix that is just trying to find those links through crawls, identifying where those links are and then updating them manually. But if it's a widespread issue and you have, let's say, thousands and thousands of pages, thousands and thousands of URLs, to do that at a mass scale is going to take you a long time. And from a development standpoint, putting a canonical tag back to the base version might be a simpler fix for you.
Yeah, good answer. Tristam, anything to add to that?
No, not at all.
No, I think I always tell my clients to try and do like force rule redirects, so that if anyone types an uppercase version, it just forces it to lowercase.
Sure.
But yeah, as Wes said, case and symbols and anything in a URL makes that URL a new page, a new piece of content. That's why duplicate content is such a common issue with SEO.
Yeah, bane of many people's lives.
Half of what we deal with.
Oh, okay. And so, yeah, we'll move on to having a look at page speed. I won't bore everyone too much with jumping into the page speed tools that I use. So we use Page Speed Insights. It's kind of a very basic one, but there's GT Metrics, there's Pingdom, and also obviously Google Lighthouse. But just to give an overview, there definitely is improvement with the Jamaican Villa website with site speed. Now, why is site speed so important? Many studies have been done that show, the faster your site, the better your conversion rate is hopefully going to be. Whilst also, if there's your website ranking for a search term and your competitors ranking for the same search term, if their site speed's a lot better, Google wants to show the best result, the best experience, so they may pick you to the post and get that top spot that because you haven't increased your site speed, you're not getting. So that's kind of a very quick overview of that. And I don't know whether Wes, you want to jump in with anything to do with Core Web Vitals. That's coming into play this year, and that's sort of linked with page speed. Did you want to jump in, Wes?
No.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I was just listening and agreeing with you, Tristan. That's all.
So Core Web Vitals. I don't know if Kate, behind the scenes, you're able to find, I think there's previously been a webinar on Core Web Vitals. So I would advise that you watch that webinar and then start to have a look at your Core Web Vitals along with your page speed, site speed, to really look to improve that. I can't stress it enough. Wes or Paige, do you actually have any case studies or statistical information where you can categorically say, we've improved page speed on X client and they saw X improvement? That it's talked about quite a lot, that improving site speed will improve everything, but trying to sort of get case studies or firm information from people is a little tricky. So I don't know whether you guys have, without possibly naming specific clients, whether you guys can sort of say, yes, we did this process and, our client found, success, improvements, conversions, increases.
Yeah. I mean, we do it a lot on paid search landing pages or paid media landing pages, right? Or you're getting really low scores, and it really matters how fast that page is loading to get that conversion rate. And we have seen positive impact from that. I think, page speed in general on like a holistic site improvement is one of the hardest things that you can do. And the larger the site and the more complex it is, the more difficult it is really to move that metric. So if you take it on a page by page level, you actually have a little bit more granularity to the data that you're looking at and how you can measure it. So we've seen good improvements, sometimes upwards of like a 20% increase in conversion rate by doing specific tests on landing pages to really improve those types of metrics.
And that's actually, so to jump in, that's a really good point, because I've had my SEO brain on today, that improving page speed is so fundamental for PPC, because you're spending money to get people in and you want to get the most bang for your buck in a sense. So that's a really good point to note for anyone watching this for an SEO perspective, but might be running paid search, that actually, you could really be getting more for your money by improving that. And then there's a whole bunch of metrics in Google Ads that you'll be improving upon your quality score by improving your page speed, etc. So I'm just going to get back to sharing my screen.
There was just an interesting anecdote I wanted to add to that about how when I went to see my first like Brighton SEO, I always remember someone saying that people are more likely to blame their device than the website for being slow. Like they'll blame their connection or the device that they're on before they think that the website is slow. But this was a few years ago. So I feel like that's probably something that's starting to die out as we get used to quicker and quicker websites.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let me just share over. There we go. And so I'm going to throw this to Wes in a sec, but I just wanted to cover off a couple of observations that I've got with this website. I'm actually colorblind, at a very low level, but with red and green mixed colors. And so taking that into account, and people who, you know, might have more visual impairedness, if that's the correct word, I don't think that is a word. You can see here with the logo and then the orange text, I find that incredibly hard to read, that it says experience the passion of our hospitality. So you know, just little things like that, because you're selling, I think the villa is around $1,000 ish, depending on how many people you have there a night. So it's a reasonable spend. You know, I'd want to, you know, not put anyone off when they're coming to the website. So maybe looking to redesign some of the colors and layout and the color variations, just to make it a bit more amenable to people who might be slightly visually impaired. It would be a great help there. And then I just want to quickly talk about some content that can be improved. So I've had a look in Google Analytics. I've been doing Google Analytics all day. In Semrush, I've typed in to the URL or the domain into Semrush. I've gone to organic search just to see what keywords the site's ranking for. I also then put a filter on because I wanted to look. I've done a bit of research, and it looks like there's a page on best beaches in Oca Rios as a blog page. And so I was curious to see A, what you're ranking for, and B, how we can improve that. So these are all the rankings. So 33 keywords are ranking, and this is for the US. Although this is in Jamaica, I've just made an assumption that a lot of your clientele will come from the US. And so, you know, the rankings aren't fantastic. There's definitely room for improvement. And so one of the first things I did was I took the content of the page. I took these keywords that Semrush is saying you're ranking for. And I used, what I love is this tool, is the SEO content template tool. So put all the content in there. And as you can see, just, we won't go through the whole of this, but just your SEO score is pretty poor. So if we jump down to the keywords that are being associated with this page and where they're being placed, there's a lot of room for improvement here. You know, all the green ones are referenced in the content, and anything not highlighted is not referenced. Now, what I'm not saying is take all these keywords and shove them in your content. I'm not saying that at all, but have a look at this content and start to see what you're ranking for and how you might be able to adapt this content. What are my notes here? I have added that, you know, you could also add key information on there, more images, you know, like the beach we talk here. You know, the James Bond beach, the Turtle Beach, that's great, but I want to know a bit more about the James Bond beach. So you might want to add in distances, maps, things to do at each beach, activities, horse riding, what food, drink, what can you hire there? You know, I'm a person who likes to plan before I go on holiday, but also plan things whilst I'm on holiday. And I will possibly reference the website again to gain more knowledge and information about what's going on in the local area. So you know, you really want to cater for that information, but also, you know, hitting those search terms that when someone's searching for the best beaches in Oca Rios, that you want to be coming up as top, because you're the most knowledgeable piece, you're giving out the most credible information, and you're just useful, and then obviously hitting the search terms, etc. So that was just a very quick way of kind of how I would go about looking to optimize a piece of content. I go into organic search, see what you're ranking for, take the page content, pop it in the content template and see where you can improve upon your content. And then also just taking a step back of keywords that you rank for. If you slide along when you are in the organic research section and you go to SERP here, click this, this will open up where you exactly are in SERPs when it loads. And then also it will give you everyone above you, so you can see who's in position 1, 2, 3 live now. Why I'm showing you that is because I wondered whether there's an opportunity to maybe take the featured snippet or position 0 in future by going onto your page content and making a bulleted or a numbered list of the top beaches in Oco Rios. And then that you won't necessarily jump to position 1, but you could jump to position 0 because you're answering what are beaches in Oco Rios or what are the best beaches. So it'd be really interesting to do a test on that to see whether you can move your search rankings up by making your content more relevant, adding more search queries in there to make it more relevant, but also how can you maybe go and take that position 0? That would be quite interesting. Wes, did you want to jump in with a couple of points that you had on that? I feel like I've talked quite a lot already and people are probably bored of my voice.
Yeah, for sure. Let me share my screen.
Just while you get that up, Wes, we've got a question in from Julia Cotton again about meta descriptions and like what are the current recommendations while we're looking at that on-page stuff and how you look in the SERP. What is our opinion on meta descriptions? Helpful for SEO or not?
Do you want to go, Wes?
Yeah, sure. Meta descriptions aren't a ranking factor, right? So they're not actually used in the algorithm to impact whether or not you're going to show up. What do? They help you with click-through rate. So if you write a strong meta description, you can convince someone to click on your listing. If you're in paid search and you're thinking about it, you're buying that traffic, you're writing that description, and you're optimizing that description. So you should be doing the same thing on SEO. That being said, Google does choose to use content on your page more often than not these days. So investing a lot of time in meta descriptions is not always the first place you should look. If you have no authority on your site and you're asking, do I need to write meta descriptions or figure out how to get more people linking to me, you probably need to go figure out how to get more people linking to you. Meta descriptions are when you're really trying to squeeze out the opportunity, right? Not when you're trying to figure out how to grow a website and get more traffic.
Perfect answer. Tristam, you got anything to add?
The only thing I'd add to that is, as Wes said, it's not a ranking factor, but I always give the analogy that if you imagine SERPs, the Google search page is like a high street, and your search result, your title tag, meta description is your shop window. Make sure you're trying to do your best to attract people to come in. And so, that's where you may look to try and improve the call to action on your meta description. Won't get you ranking better, but you might be able to attract and get people to click through better, is my 2 cents.
Yeah, because it's like not a direct ranking factor, but it is an indirect ranking factor, right? Because click-through rate helps. So
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all good. Wes, were
Awesome.
you sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go through a couple of quick points so we can keep moving through this. Let's see if we can see that.
Nice. Yeah, we should probably wrap up this site fairly quickly to get the other 2 in here.
Yeah, for sure. I'll make a couple of quick points. All right. So one thing that I wanted to show here was location targeting. So I think there's a big missed opportunity going after keywords like Montego Bay Villa. So this keyword has 1,300 search volume, as you can see right here. It's kind of a busy SERP result, but I found this competitor here, villasinjamaica.com, who's ranking pretty well for it. So they're in position 2. When you actually go to JamaicaOceanViewVilla.com, what you see is that there's a resort areas section of the website, but there's not actually a page specifically for Montego Bay that I can find. So we don't have the opportunity to rank for that. So I really liked the way that this competitor actually set this up. So if you go to resort areas here, you can see that they have all of these different locations, and then these are highly optimized for villa terms in those locations. and they all have unique content on them. They're actually really nice pages, and they actually display the different villas that are in those areas. So I think they're a really nice user-friendly page. They're ranking really well, and I think that the traffic here that they're getting is probably almost as valuable, if not more valuable, than some of the head term traffic they're going for, like a term like villas in Jamaica, right? And what's really interesting about these guys, if I pull open Semrush really quick here, I've got a lot of tabs open, so might be running a little slow. If I pull up these guys, what you actually see is the authority score here is 28, and our Jamaica Ocean View Villa is 25, and there's more referring domains, so it seems like maybe they have a little bit more quality domains, but these are pretty similar authority scores. But when you actually look at the amount of keywords and the amount of traffic that they're getting, they're beating us, right, in every single sense here. And that's because they have this architecture built out in a way that's allowing the search engine to actually rank certain specific pages for those locations, as well as like just really strong content. So I would definitely recommend that you kind of do some competitive analysis on this site and try to mimic their actual information architecture and build out these types of pages to help you get that really strong convertible traffic, because this is the stuff that's going to make you money too, right? These are really money keywords. Yeah,
absolutely. I think understanding a site architecture is, first of all, my absolute favorite thing to do in SEO. I love doing an IA. It just makes me so happy. But understanding like primary and secondary content on your site is so important. Like that James Bond Beach and Turtle Bay stuff, maybe that's supplementary content that pushes authority into your core like location pages. And it's just about like organizing your content based on those keywords you want it to rank for. One page can't really rank for everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. You need those multiple pages, and I think the setup right now is limiting that for sure. So definitely take a look at that. I agree with you a lot, Paige. That information architecture is my favorite as well. So
such
I have a couple more points, or we can move on to the next one. What do you think, Paige?
If you can be quick.
Okay.
Go on, get them in.
Yeah, sure. I was just going to talk quickly about these hub pages I saw. So I think visitjamaica.com, a very large website, right, has a lot of traffic, but they have some cool stuff. So if you look at the keyword things to do in Jamaica, I would consider that like a head term, a very large keyword that has 20,000 search volume. They have a really cool page here that I would call like a hub page, and then they're using the hub and spoke model to really link out to a lot of different types of content. So when you're looking at this page, what they do is they say, okay, here we're going to link out to experiences, and then this takes you to a separate landing page that tries to rank for Jamaica experiences, right? And you have Jamaica things to do. So those are two different types of queries, and they're kind of laddering it up in that hub and spoke model from here's the largest query to here's some smaller ones that we actually want to rank for, and they're linking downward on their site doing that, which is really, really cool. And when you look at JamaicanOceanViewVilla.com and you look at kind of just the home blog page, it's just a feed, right? And so the actual feed itself doesn't have any way to link to other posts that aren't new posts. So as you create more content, your newer posts are just going to keep pushing down your old content, and you need to build an architecture within your blog if you have a lot of content to get it there. That hub and spoke model is really, really cool, and I think these guys do it well.
Joe, I've never heard of it called a hub and spoke model, but it's like the perfect visualization. You've got your central point and all the things that come off it. Yeah. Really great.
I think there's a lot of different names for it. Pillar pages, I think everybody has like their own preference in that sense at this point. It's funny.
And isn't that one of the biggest issues in SEO is we call the same thing loads of different things. Like 100%. That's why one of the things that I did ages ago was a SERP features glossary, just so we could all like call a featured snippet because it's driving me mad. Shall we move on to the next website?
I think so. Well, Wes, as you've got the screen, you stopped sharing. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to just continue on and then throw it back to me once you've picked up a few points.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second to just find my notes and I'll jump in.
Trucks now, right?
Yeah, so next site we'll be looking at will be showcasetruckaccessories.com.
I'm so excited to see what this has on it.
Yeah, so I'm really going to focus on talking about the shop subdomain because I think that's what was actually sent to us, and we can kind of, maybe Tristan, you could talk about the differences between the sites. I know you looked into that. So first and foremost, I think one thing, and going back to information architecture, which we've already talked about a little bit, but one thing that I noticed that's really interesting is that there's really no like categorical setup on the site. So one of the, well, this main navigation we're going to talk about in a second, but one of the issues that I'm seeing here is like, these are actually brands that you're using as category pages. So in SEO, and especially in e-com SEO, category pages are where the traffic enters. Those are, most of the time, that's the type of traffic you want. We'll talk about some product pages as well on this site. But if you're thinking through it and you're saying, okay, how do I actually get traffic? We need to be ranking for like truck accessories or truck grill accessories, those types of keywords. And what's happening currently in the accessories navigation is that there's really no rhyme or reason to it, right? It's just kind of, there's a mix between some roof racks and accessories types of pages like this one, which I would call a standard non-brand targeted category page. And then there's also a solid fold 2.0, which is a brand. So in the accessories menu, there's not a designation between what we'll call like a primary category and a subcategory, and then as well as a brand. So let me pull up a competitor I found that's doing it well. I think it's realtruck.com. Had them open. There we go. So if you look at their categorization here, which is I think a good competitive example of how you should be setting this up, they break it down into what I'd call primary categories and then subcategories, right? And even within that, I think they have some deeper levels of categorization. So they have a 3-layer categorization. And when you have a lot of products, a large number of SKUs on an e-com, this is the best way to set it up. So what they do is they take lighting and then they say, okay, we're going to try to rank for truck headlights, right? Truck light bulbs, truck light guards and covers. So the first step, I think, for showcase truck accessories is really trying to align search intent through keyword research, right? Which you can use keyword magic on Semrush, which is one of my favorite tools to actually use to find all of those keywords. And then actually going through and listing out and saying, is this a primary keyword? Is this a subcategory keyword? And how does that architecture look? Because right now, what we're limiting ourselves is just the pages that are actually visible on the site currently, right? Okay, so that's one of my first points. I think probably one of the most important points that I have here. I'll also talk quickly about the category page structure. So this is an actual category page that has the products on it. The first thing I noticed is when I inspect the page and look into the actual code, I don't see an H1 anywhere on the page that is actually wrapping text around it, right? It has some different styling in here, but there's no real H1 that's actually counting toward like a ranking signal on the page specifically. So this has some breadcrumbs here. I didn't check if these were marked up with schema, but they should be. And sorry, I'm looking over here at my other screen this whole time. But there's no actual H1 here. And then there's really not any content on the page, right? So I have an example here of a really nice category page that I like from Hydro Flask. It's got some good content at the top, right? It's got a clean H1 that we know we have with bottles here. It has ability to filter and move through that. And throughout, it has a nice shoppable experience. So something that we can use as an example, right, when we're kind of looking at these types of pages. But you got to make sure that the intent of the page, the title of the page is there so that the search engine understands what the content is there on the page. And then the title tag backs that up. So the title tag on this one specifically just says backflip. And so just one word in the title tag. So definitely opportunity to optimize that as well. But again, that starts really with making sure that you find the right of those keywords specifically on the site. I don't know if my internet might have cut out for a little bit there. Might be having some.
No, you were good. You were good.
Okay, cool.
Just a second.
All right, awesome. Cool. So those are a couple of the main like e-com points I had. I can hand it over to Tristan and we can kind of go back and forth a little bit more on different things we found after we hear from him.
Perfect.
Sorry, Tristan, just before we move on, we've had a question from Melissa Dusenberry. I'm going to assume that's how we pronounce it. Sounds nice. What is the difference between, or the hierarchy between H1s, 2s, and 3s? And just for me, add in how many of each can you have? Because that's a good question.
You want to take that one, Tristan?
Yeah, so the difference, what's the best way of explaining this? So I think I've this is one of the ways I like to explain it, is if you have like a book or a text document, your H1, which we use, will be, your main heading to that document, and then your subcategory headings underneath that page will be your H2s and H3s. Now, from what I've learned, H1 is your primary header on that page, and you kind of want that to be linked to your title tag as much as possible. But correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think now Google have said they will look at an H2 like an H1 if you don't have the H1. This is going to be bad if I got it wrong.
I'm sure I've seen something, because
I feel like I've seen John Moo say that.
He also
I feel like that's right.
More than one, right? He said you can have more than one H1, which I then told all my clients.
I know that's true.
Ignore him.
But in terms of, so really your H1, if you've got, so if we use the truck accessories page, I'm trying to think of a truck accessory, you've got tires, just say, we're talking about 4x4 tires. So we'd want that in our title tag. And then we'd want to have that as the H1, that is 4x4 tires. That's what this category page is going to be about, 4x4 tires. And then, your H2 would be, further subcategory information titled out, H3, H4. Don't use your H1 as a logo, please. I see so many people do that.
Yes.
Always.
Linford Motorsport said you can have more than one H1. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just
I don't know enough testing to know how that all works and whether you possibly be confusing it. All those people have said that should be fine, but
just because you can.
Exactly.
Your one H1, it's your title, it's clear. We've got some nice questions coming through around the importance of H2s and H3s as well. Wes, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I think that H2s and H3s used to be really important, right? 10 years ago, when you had on-page SEO was the number one thing that mattered when in ranking, right? And you could just put the keyword on the page in the right places, and you had some links, you would rank, right? That was how it worked. I think H2s and H3s are far less important than they used to be, but it's not something you should ignore. You should still make sure that you have good questions. I love to look at the people also ask questions and put those as my H2s and H3s, because I know that Google is associating my content topic with those questions. And that's a great way to generate different topic ideation, as well as just to make sure that you have good keywords in those H2s and H3s. And you want to sprinkle in your primary keywords, your secondary keywords, even your tertiary keywords, right? And really try to make sure that's optimized. But is it as important as it used to be, where if you don't have it, you're not going to rank? No, I don't think that's true at all. I think you can write a good piece of content that has a lot of good information in it, that's well optimized from a title tag and an on-page perspective within the content, and you'll be totally fine.
Yeah, completely agree. And it depends, right? As we all like to say as SEOs, e-commerce probably isn't the place for H2s and H3s. You only want enough content on that page to tell Google what it is. But I reckon our last site of the day will probably have the kind of content that you do want to use H2s and H3s to structure long form content and make it more digestible for people, because we're all lazy human beings, right? You want to find the header that has the answer to the thing that you're looking for as quickly as possible.
Well, so that's a really good point that I should have added where I was using the sort of the text document analogy, that yes, the reason why we head things in that particular way is, as a human, you look at the top, that's your title. This is what I am going to be reading in this page. And then, like user experience as well, even in text documents, we want to guide the person through what's this section titled and going to be about. If you just had a whole document and everything was at point 11, like font size, and you didn't really know what the titles were, you had to figure that out. That's way more frustrating to a human than doing the work for the human. We're lazy humans. So.
And also, just a thought to mobile first design, we see a lot more accordions. So if you see the header is going to be the thing that you open and then see the rest of that content. So they're useful in the right context, I guess, is the summary of what we're getting to.
Absolutely.
So, right, I'll share my screen and we'll do a couple of last bits on the accessories website, and then we'll move on to the last one. So something I thought was quite interesting. I've never actually seen this before. So again, I ran a site audit on the shop subdomain for Showcase truck accessories. And one of the issues that came up was there was 765 multiple canonical URLs. So come through to one of the pages, and what I do is, just to have a look at it, is right click and then click view page source, which brings up this. So let's bear in mind that this URL has got airlift / airlift 1000 airbag kit. And as we've touched upon canonicals earlier, you want to tell Google which version of a page you want it to look at. So canonicals can work in a few different ways. So if you owned an e-commerce store and you sold Levi's jeans, Levi jeans or a pair of 501s could sit under the brand page of Levi's, but it could also sit under sizing, so waist length, color, it could sit under. And so then this starts to build duplicate content. So canonicals are there to go, okay, Google, just look at this version of the page, and then that's the one we'll focus on. And so you want to set your canonical correctly. So having a look here, I've looked in the page source, and what I can see here is the first canonical is to the home page, yet this is a product page. And then there's some sub canonicals. So this one, I'm not too au fait with the coding, but it actually looks like it's the opposite way round. So this one's, why is that not highlighting? This one's structured like this, and then this one actually has the rel canonical at the end. I don't personally know if that makes a difference, but really what we should be doing is taking this one I've highlighted here and replacing it over this one, because you don't want a product page canonicalizing to the home page, because then all you're telling Google is, from what I understand, from what I've seen in the site audit, is the majority of product pages or pages on the site of all have a canonical going back to the home page. So you're telling Google, don't necessarily look at this page content. I want you to have a look at the home page content instead. I don't know if you guys have any other canonical stories that you want to share before I move on. But that's quite an interesting one. I've never seen multiple canonicals used. I've seen wrong canonicals used, but I've never seen multiple ones. And so hopefully that's sort of a simple process for you, just to remove the one reference in the home page and put in the correct one that you want. And then just something that I found odd, I'm going to share my screen again, because I realise we are pressed for time.
We'll have to get a little pop-up from Anton again saying it's okay, we run over.
A couple of things. Just, I can't remember whether you mentioned this, Wes, with the menu. So I was looking at the menu, kind of going, oh, okay. So I feel that this menu would kind of end here, and then through a bit of playing around with the site, I didn't realise the menu was actually scrollable. And so there's all this content in the menu. I don't feel that's, yeah. And then outside of that, so that would, if we go back to what Wes was saying about categorizing, hopefully that would reduce the amount that you have in this menu, and you wouldn't have so much in the menu for it to need to scroll. I didn't realize it scrolled at first, and only through interrogating the website did I realize that it scrolled. So you could be missing out on clicks on pages, sales, etc., because people didn't know they could scroll. Obviously, we've got this category bar here, but again, you land on a page, most of the relevant content you want above the fold, but we're scrolling. Oh, and then we get a bit about us here. So I feel, categorize this menu more systematically, but also look at all this content, this space here that we've just got wasted. And then just a couple of oddities that I found. Usually, these banners should be used to sort of sell USPs, put stuff that you've got on sale, products you want to push. anything key like that, what I've noticed is I didn't realize these were 2 images at first. If you click this first one, we come through to this form, which, you know, if I'm buying truck accessories, etc., you know, contact us here for a free quote. Then I'm going on to this page. It's with Jot form. It's not as branded as being on the website. Long story short, I'm feeling this. I know it isn't dodgy, but I'm feeling it could be a bit dodgy. Is there a way of integrating this form into the website? If you need to use Jot form on your website, is there a way to integrate it better? Also, just another thing I noticed is the subdomain, or the domain for this shop, is shop.showcase truck accessories. What we've got here, though this isn't clickable, someone may choose to copy it. We've got www.shop. and that will not return anything useful back. And also, there wasn't a particularly easy way to navigate back. I do realize this popped up separately, but just in case someone closed it, there's not an easy way to navigate back. And then another interesting thing, it might be because I'm not American or Canadian, so my understanding of this would be less. But then there's this second image here, something about a $40 mail-in rebate. And then if I click that, because I wanted to find out more, I'm being sent here. And then if I click one of these, I'm being sent here. And so I don't know if this information here is best suited to be on the home page. It's not really telling me a huge amount of what you do and what you sell, etc. I'd use this space more wisely to your advantage. There was just a little observation that I made that I just wanted to share. Also, one last thing on this is what we found was there was actually 2 websites. And obviously I haven't been able to speak to the people that run and own this site. So what I wondered was, what was the sort of driving force between having the shop as a subdomain and then the main site not being a link to the shop? My thought is both of these sites should possibly sit together. Obviously, I haven't spoken to, as I say, the people who own the website to understand this particular site we're looking at, which isn't the shop.subdomain. You're not able to buy anything on here. Everything's quotation based, whereas you are able to purchase from here, and there's seemingly no link from one site to the other. So I'm just curious on, you know, I'd love to speak to you guys further to see whether this is what you wanted or whether it's just, you know, you want to mix the shop and the other site together. What I did find in SERPs was a whole bunch of sort of shopping cart account login URLs for this version of the website. So what I was wondering is if you had the e-commerce section on this website and then stopped selling on here, create your subdomain for the shop, but just haven't linked through one to the other. So just something interesting for you guys who own this store to think about. And I realise we're really close for time, so
Yeah.
should we jump into the last site?
But yeah, some really good observations there. So much room for improvement on that site. So much opportunity for them to be having the right categories, what people are searching for. Just so much opportunity. So what is our last site of the day, Tristam?
It is woodlandtrust.org.uk. Wes, as I've just been speaking, did you want to jump in and take the first bit?
Sure. I actually love this site, so it's a very cool site. I'm going to praise it a little bit and kind of show you what you should be doing, and talk about a couple of things that I think could be improved.
Nice.
So
fuck.
See that? Okay. Cool. So I'm going to talk about, again, like setting up your website correctly. I think that this is really cool how it's done on this site. So unfortunately, one thing that we did notice about this site before we just jump in here, if you actually try to go to what I would call like the money making areas of the site where you're going to donate something or you're going to buy something, which they have tree dedications that I think you can purchase here. I don't know if these are actually functioning right now. They have gifts, home and garden, all kinds of stuff that you can buy. It is an e-commerce shop in some senses, right? It's all closed right now. So Tristan actually identified that he thinks they were a victim of a hack or some sort of cyber attack. So unfortunately, we're not able to check out the rest of the site right now. So we're going to like this section of the site, which is probably where I would focus my auditing in terms of like opportunity analysis. But all that being said, I do think that there's some awesome things happening on the content side. And I dropped this into Semrush, and you can see right here, this is actually in the US search engine, but you can see right here, the content section of the website is incredible. Lots of #1 rankings for very large editorial types of terms. Very, very cool stuff there, right? And in terms of how they're actually doing that, the way that they're setting up the site is they're building a good architecture, and they're building out these, what I would call, again, kind of that hub and spoke model. They have that higher level architecture, and they're saying, okay, here are all the woods that we want to go, and then here are the actual different wood that we have. And I love these pages that they've built. Let me see if I can get one open here. Too many tabs. So if you're looking for what is a good piece of content, I think this is a great piece of content. This is actually one of the woods pages that they're looking at. A really nice high quality images here about the woods themselves. You scroll down, they have really nice information, well organized. I love content UX features. So content UX features are like jump links as I look at them. That's one thing, right? And so you get here, you're like, oh, well, all I want to know is how I get there. Boom, you press the access, scrolls you down. If you have blog posts and they're over 1,000 words and you're not using jump links, I think you're missing out opportunity to just make your users a little bit more happy, section off your content. Going back to those H2s and H3s, right? You could have those jump links be those H2s and H3s that are content topics. And then within that, you have your subtopics, right? So just a really, really nice piece of content. One thing I will call out is I think something I found is interesting around the content pieces themselves is that there are dates in the URLs. So I think this is I've debated this in the past with many different SEOs over the years. John Mueller himself says it's fine to have dates in the URLs. I personally think like when I'm browsing through and I see a URL string that's from 2015, I don't click it, right? And a lot of the times you see that. And so I think it does deter from click-through rate. It does not impact anything around actually like rankings. But we all know that content freshness is important, right? And I think it would be really interesting if I owned this website or I was doing an audit on it. Probably one of the main things that I would do is use custom extraction to extract publish dates for all of these different posts, and then try to model out how much traffic they're getting based on when they were updated, based on when they were posted, and try to assess whether or not I think my older content is performing as well as my newer content. That's something we do a lot of on some very large blogs. I think it's always astounding the results that you really see with that, because what you notice is that older content just doesn't perform as well, right? Over time, you start to see a decay in performance, and you really do need to be refreshing and updating that content. And again, just an awesome blog post, like well laid out. All of their content is like this. If you're thinking about content UX, this is a great site to be thinking about. I know we're up at time here. I'll stop talking.
Yeah, no, you can carry on. I think it's really, really helpful and really interesting, because the date thing's really important, because everyone is really obsessed with SEO freshness. But actually, one of the biggest things I try and hammer into my clients is understand that a blog is for topical, timely content. You want to get your opinion out there, but you have evergreen content. You've got resources and guides. Like that isn't necessarily a dated piece of content. Like that plant isn't going to change. Your use for it's probably not going to change. So put it somewhere else. Put it somewhere useful where it can empower some other content that you might want to rank.
Absolutely. Agree with that 100%. A resource center is always nice, put it there and keep it there.
Yes. Evergreen content, valuable. And you can like upgrade blog content that you think, oh, actually, that's still relevant a year down the line and people still click on it. Let's like give it a refresh, put it somewhere really important. Tristam, did you want to go through your findings?
Yeah, but just to carry on what you were saying there about going back and updating content, hopefully, I've repeated this a few times in previous ones, but I think a lot of people sometimes feel that you just need to be a content machine, pump out more content. But how many of you who have thought like this have actually gone back to old content? As we were showing a very quick example with the Jamaican Villa website, you can go back and look at your content and either move it so it's got more of a prominence and place on your site, or that you can actually just update and improve upon the content you've got. So it's not a case of we've just got to keep hammering out pieces of content again and again, when if they're not as good as they could be. Definitely going back, revisiting, looking at Google Analytics, your Google Search Console data, and something like Semrush data, and pulling that together and saying, what's this telling me? Can I improve upon this page, or am I starting to see search queries that might lead me to build subsidiary pieces of content? So just my little bit on updating content. And as I realise we are well pressed for time, I do like to talk. A couple of points I just wanted to note on. So again, with HTTPS and HTTP issues, what I found through searching this site, there are a number of subdomains on the site, and some haven't got the HTTP to HTTPS redirect, but both pages are live. And so I actually really like this page. So you can explore around this lake and go through to different areas. But as you can see, it's saying, oh, not secure. So this is one of the reasons why we say you should really be moving to HTTPS, to stop all these warning signals, increase trust, etc. So I was like, I'll have a look and see what the HTTPS version of the website is. And then I'm getting this privacy issue. And so then I'm starting to see there was a few instances of where the HTTP and the HTTPS hadn't been married up. But this seems like it's quite a large site, so I'm not entirely sure whether some of the subdomains are owned by separate groups, teams, etc. That sometimes happens, where the main version of the website is owned by a team, and then subdomains for particular reasons are owned by other teams. So that might just be something that hasn't been picked up on. And then really I wanted to touch on site speed. We spoke about this before we went live, and just as a basic, put it through Page Speed Insights. As I say, there are a few more that you would ideally run a few tests to get kind of a median result. Running the home page, I got a score of 11 yesterday on mobile, and there's a score of 5 today. And then on desktop, we're getting a score of 56. Really, we want to be up in the 90 plus. We explained earlier why that's so imperative. I'm just going to bring myself back. But those page speeds are very, very poor. It's a fantastic website, so you're just doing yourself a disservice there. So really, I'd set a task to have a look at improving that, and especially when we're living in a mobile first era and your mobile speed score is really bad, is the light way of putting it. I'll definitely have a look at that. But I've just to say, I've got a whole heap more stuff to talk about on each of the sites, but an hour just seems to zip by. So apologies first off for not being able to cover everything that I wanted to.
Yeah, but Tristam, you're on Twitter, right? If anyone has any follow-up questions.
Just quickly on that. So Tristam Jarman, type that into Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. I don't think there's another person with my name in the world, so you should find me. But please do get in contact. Ask me any questions. I'd be happy to discuss some of the other findings that I've got, which we just haven't had time to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been trying to field a couple of them in the chat as well. Apologies for the ones that we've not got to. It's just not enough time. And Wes, you've got a Twitter handle as well, right? You don't mind people spamming you?
I actually don't use Twitter, but I have LinkedIn, and I can send that around. I know
You're
it's crazy.
Who are you?
I know. I'm sorry. It's crazy. I'm breaking the rules,
Well, my Twitter handle is just my name @Paige Hobart, so feel free to tweet, and I'll just email Wes for you. And without further ado, we have to announce the 3 runners-up of the 3 months of Semrush Ninja before we forget and just go offline. So I don't know if you guys are watching, but we have Jason from certifiedcomic.shop. You are one of our runners-up. Please get in touch. You're going to get 3 months of Semrush Guru. Sorry, did I say Ninja? Too much stuff. Then we have Christian from synergyenterprises.ca. And then last but not least, we have B. James from ratattack.com. Sound intriguing websites. I am interested to look at them. But yeah, I think Anton will either be in touch or get in touch with us to get your 3 months free trial. Pew, pew, pew.
Awesome. We need some sound effects.
Pew, 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 pew.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fireworks and everything. Both of our dogs would be going off the hook, Tristam. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please tweet us if there was questions that you didn't get around to. Our handles are below. Thank you very much, Kate. Yeah, have a great rest of your day or evening, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one.
See you later, guys.
Thank you, everybody.